Small crowd tonight. Number 51. 51. I see lights coming up, some more coming.
Maybe a mere crowd.
Guide me, O thou great Jehovah, pilgrim through this barren land. I am weak, but thou art mighty. Hold me with thy powerful hand. Bread of heaven, feed me till I want no more. Bread of heaven, feed me till I want no more. Open now the crystal fountain, whence the healing waters flow. Let the fiery, cloudy pillar lead me all my journey through. Strong deliverer, be thou still my strength and shield. Strong deliverer, be thou still my strength and shield. When I tread the verge of Jordan, bid my ancient fears subside. Bear me through the swelling current, land me safe on Canaan's side. Songs of praises I will ever give to thee. Songs of praises I will ever give to thee. Number 6. Number 6. Anywhere with Jesus I can safely go. Anywhere he leads me in this world below. Anywhere without him dearest joys would fade. Anywhere with Jesus I am not afraid. Anywhere, anywhere, fear I cannot know. Anywhere with Jesus I can safely go. Anywhere with Jesus I am not alone. Other friends may fail me, he is still my own. Though his hand may lead me over dreariest ways, anywhere with Jesus is a house of praise. Anywhere, anywhere, fear I cannot know. Anywhere with Jesus I can safely go. Anywhere with Jesus I can go to sleep. When the darkening shadows round about me creep, knowing I shall waken nevermore to roam. Anywhere with Jesus will be home, sweet home. Anywhere, anywhere, fear I cannot know. Anywhere with Jesus I can safely go. Number 375. 375. Earth holds no treasures but perish with using, however precious they be. Yet there's a country to which I am going. Heaven holds all to me. Heaven holds all to me. Brighter its glory will be. Joy without measure will be my treasure. Heaven holds all to me. Out on the hills of that wonderful country, prayer.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day and all Mary's blessings. We thank you for this time we have to come and worship thee and pray out of hallelujah. Be with us as we go through this hour of studying the things to say and do that are well pleasing in thy sight. We pray out, Father, for our military and the men and the women that serve in it. Keep them safe. We pray for our country. We pray for the leaders that they may make the right decisions that we always will have this freedom. Pray that you be with us as we go through the rest of our lives and forgive us our sins. As we pray in Christ's name. Amen.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Welcome. So glad that you're here. There for a moment, it looked like I was just going to be speaking to about 3 or 4 folks, but I came on in. Glad that you did. I'm going to have to start advertising or something, throwing out commercials here and there for Wednesday night Bible study. We are in 2 Samuel chapter 20. We are on the back side of the Davidic curse. It'll talk about it, refer to it like that so much, but it's exactly what it was. And David's sin with Bathsheba had consequences, and some very harsh ones. He's seen his own son rise up against him, ran him clean off the throne and out of Jerusalem over to the Transjordan, where he had to live for a time. Now, in the last chapter, in chapter 19, all things being done, David is moving back towards Jerusalem to be reinstated as king, and there's friction. We're seeing language that we really wouldn't expect to see until on up in 1 Kings, after Solomon's son, Jeroboam, split the kingdom in two. But we're seeing language already of this tension between the northern part of Israel, which is just kind of known as Israel, or the northern kingdom, a little further in time, and Judah. Judah's always been sort of it's the largest tribe in the south, and now the entire part of the southern kingdom is just kind of known as Judah. And so we're seeing friction develop already. This is going to be something that lasts, and we're going to see it kind of eke back into the text, as we get further into 1st and 2nd Kings. There are only a few chapters left. There's 24 chapters in 2 Samuel. I'm not fully decided yet where we're going to go after 2 Samuel. When I get that decided, I will let you know. For those of you who like to study ahead, keep me on my toes. All right, this evening, chapter 20. I'm going to read the last verse of chapter 19 because it gives us a little context. We need to know what's going on. I said there was some friction with David coming back between the northern kingdom of Israel, the southern kingdom of Judah, and it sort of kind of shows itself here in verse 43, and then I'm just going to take off reading into verse 1 of chapter 20. The men of Israel answered the men of Judah, "We have 10 shares in the king, and in David also we have more than you. Why then did you despise us? Were we not the first to speak of bringing back our king?" But the words of the men of Judah were fiercer than the words of the men of Israel. And this is about pomp and circumstance, culture, tradition. If this tribe's going to go up here and usher in the king, well, the other ones don't want to be left out. They want to be part of this processional, this big parade that's coming into Jerusalem. They want to be represented, right? You want to have your people there. You want this to be a unified assembly that's coming together to reinstate the king. And as it is, what we have is Judah, who is trying to bring the king in without Israel being involved, right? And so Israel's upset about the slight, not being told that, hey, we're going to do this thing, you come join us, kind of thing. None of that happened, and so they're upset, and since they're upset, Judah's upset, to make for a these are the days of our lives in Israel sort of show right here we have going on, a little drama. And so in chapter 20, verses 1 and 2, now there happened to be a worthless man whose name was Sheba, the son of Bichri, a Benjaminite, and he blew the trumpet and said, we have no portion in David, and we have no inheritance in the son of Jesse. Every man to his tents, O Israel. And so all the men of Israel withdrew from David and followed Sheba, the son of Bichri. But the men of Judah followed their king steadfastly from the Jordan to Jerusalem. Now, you know, right away when the author leads off with there's a worthless man who, it's going to be pretty bad, right? It's not going to be good. We don't know a lot about this guy, Sheba. And really what he does here, for most intents and purposes, we would say, isn't that bad. So what's happening here is, you know what, you didn't call us, and this is your king, and it looks like we're not going to get favor from the king. You're going to get special treatment. We're going home. We're just going to take our ball and go to the house. He didn't ask them to raise arms. He didn't ask them to go fetch their spears, their bows, their chariots, or anything like that. They're leaving. Which isn't one, it's a slight to the king, right? It's really a great overreaction, but it could have been much worse. But it is in poor taste and in poor tradition. So it's not a good thing that's happening here with Israel withdrawing from this, what amounts to a coronation process. David came to his house at Jerusalem, and he took the 10 concubines whom he had left to care for the house, and put them in a house under guard, and provided for them, but did not go into them. And so they were shut up until the day of their death, living as if in widowhood. Now, we've talked about this before. The concubines are usually a political asset as much as anything. The neighboring city-states, city kingdoms, these little villages, they'd have their own king. Oftentimes the king would offer a daughter, they'd make a treaty, they would trade back and forth, and the daughter would become a concubine to the greater king, which in this case would be David. And so these are also the concubines that David left behind when he fled Jerusalem. He could have took them with him, but he left them there to care for the house. Right? Absalom comes in and makes this big party on the rooftop and lays with the concubines in the sight of Israel. And so this big show has been made of this. Now David takes those same concubines and just tucks them away, right? Out of sight, out of mind, puts them under guard, and cares for them. Now it's kind of tough to discern here. They're under the care of the king, but which sounds, in any other passage, sounds good. And this passage, however, it wraps up, they shut up until the day of their death, living as if in widowhood. Not prisoners per se, off limits to other men for sure, and living as if in widowhood. So, it's not a great thing. But then again, you're trying to figure out what their lives were like beforehand. Don't know if this is going to seem to them as punishment or if they're going to be tickled over this particular situation. I'm not sure. I've never been a concubine, so I don't know. All right? But nevertheless, author is putting a nice bow on things, right? He's trying to bring this whole episode to a conclusion. All right? He's kind of tie up loose ends. The king said to Amasa, call in the men of Judah together with me within 3 days, and be here yourself. And so Amasa went to summon Judah, but he delayed beyond the set time that it had been appointed to him. All right, Amasa, you remember who this is, right? He was the general of Israel's army while Absalom was in Jerusalem. And so Amasa is a general that when David was still over in the Transjordan and he's trying to diplomatically make a way for him to come back to Jerusalem, tells Amasa that he's going to make him general of his army in place of Joab. And so now we have Amasa as the general of the army of Israel. Joab, I'm not really sure. I'm not sure that he took a demotion because of what we're going to see happening in this chapter. But Joab is going to be with those mighty men of valor, those the Pelethites and the Kerethites, those trained fighting men, the elite guards of David. That's where Joab is for the time being. And Amasa is called in by David to do something that is nigh impossible to do. He's to go around Judah and 3 days gather this standing army. He's going to go out and get all the guys, we would call them reservists, the ones that are farming during the week and playing army on the weekend. He's got to go out and in 3 days get this force together because they're going to pursue Sheba. There's other texts where we see some doing it like 7 days, and that was amazing that happened. To be done in 3 days seems highly unlikely and really not right at impossible to be able to perform that task. So he didn't make it. He delayed beyond the set time that had been appointed to him. Now keep in mind also that Amasa is an Israelite. He's from the northern kingdom. He was with Absalom, and he's tasked with going to the southern kingdom, going to Judah, the southern part of the kingdom, to gather this army. Not what you would call an easy task at all. David said to Abishai, Joab's brother, Abishai, now Sheba, the son of Bichri, will do us more harm than Absalom. Take your Lord's servants and pursue him, lest he get himself to fortified cities and escape from us. And there went after him from Joab's men and the Kerethites and the Pelethites and all the mighty men. They went out from Jerusalem to pursue Sheba, the son of Bichri. So we have this guy who probably in hindsight, maybe even already regret even speaking up at all. Blowing the trumpet, we have no share in, the king of Israel. Well, now David has got to make sure that a revolt doesn't develop. We have Sheba who's, he's shown us this rebellious spirit. David's going to make sure that it doesn't grow into something worse. So now he's tasking his elite fighting men to go get him. Right? First it was Amasa with a task that seems like an unreasonable task that he's not able to complete. And so now David goes to, I don't know if you call it plan B or plan A in absentee, but it's kind of what it looks like. And so you got the SEAL Team 6 now going after Sheba. In verse 8, when they were at the great stone that is in Gibeon, Amasa came to meet them. Now Joab was wearing a soldier's garment, and over it was a belt with a sword in its sheath fastened on his thigh, and as he went forward it fell out. So we now know that Joab is part of the elite guard. He's part of the mighty men of valor. Of course, he always has been, but he's not titled as the commander of the army right now, because Amasa is. And so we have this scene as Joab's approaching Amasa at Gibeon. The language is tricky because we're trying to build this mental picture of what's happening here. And it's not clear. Are we supposed to see this sword as a concealed weapon? Is it Joab's wearing a soldier's garment? What else would Joab be wearing? I mean, he is a soldier. And I mean, these guys, they're not the farmers during the week, warrior on the weekend. These guys are sitting around sharpening their swords, waiting for somebody to call, needing them to go act. All right, that's what they do. So Joab's dressed in a soldier's garment, and he's got a belt. He's got a sword fastened on his thigh, and the sword falls out, which really, it doesn't make a lot of sense unless there's something else going on. Joab said to Amasa, "Is it well with you, my brother?" Joab took Amasa by the beard with his right hand to kiss him. But Amasa did not observe the sword that was in Joab's hand. And so Joab struck him with it in the stomach and spilled his entrails to the ground without striking a second blow, and he died. This is a cultural thing here that we do not do, right? Joab took Amasa by the beard with his right hand to kiss him. Thankfully, we don't do that. I would have already shaved, right? We don't do that kind of thing. But it was something they would do. It displayed great trust. you're talking about two soldiers drawing near to one another. They're very exposed. Their midsections are exposed. It's kind of tantamount to a cat or dog rolling over for you and exposing their belly. It shows a great sign of trust. Typically, a dog that is about to lay into you doesn't roll over and show you their belly first. You know, they usually got the hair standing up on their back, growling, all that kind of thing. But this is a very vulnerable pose, and it displays great trust. And whatever the situation it is that the author's trying to convey with the belt, the cloak, the sword falling out, and all that, it's pointing to the fact that Joab has ulterior motives here, that he's not siding with Amasa. He's not there to help him gather an army. He's not there for any other reason than to take Amasa out, to assassinate Amasa. And that's exactly what he does. Grabs the beard, thrusts the sword. It sounds very similar, not exactly similar, because back in Judges, you have Ehud and King Eglon. And Ehud is the left-handed, you know, and he has the dagger strapped to his left side, and the soldiers search his right side because they're just not used to left-handers. They don't search his left, and he stabs King Eglon with the sword and all that. You know, it's a concealed weapon kind of situation. And maybe that kind of thing's going on here. It's just not, it's not clear. But whatever the case is, Amasa is not expecting Joab to attack. And Joab does. So Amasa, a man from Israel whom David has appointed commander of his army, is now dead in the road. Joab and Abishai, his brother, pursued Sheba and the son of Bichri. So we have Joab and Abishai, and I've forgotten the name of the third brother. Way back there in 1 Samuel, Joab, Abishai, these three brothers were commanders in their own rights, and the other brother ran as a gazelle, and I cannot recall his name off the top of my head for anything this evening. However, you have the two brothers, Joab and Abishai. They are the mighty men, the Pelethites, the Kerethites, and they are now turned their attention back to Sheba to pursue the threat to David's throne. One of Joab's young men took a stand by Amasa and said, "Whoever favors Joab and whoever's for David, let him follow Joab." And Amasa lay wallowing in his blood in the highway, and anyone who came by seeing him stopped. When the man saw that all the people stopped, he carried Amasa out of the highway and into the field, threw a garment over him. It was creating a traffic jam of sorts. No one was willing to pass by. They were seeing the body, and they weren't going any further. They just kind of froze in their tracks kind of situation. And so this guy, whoever it is, a standing guard, goes ahead and moves the body out of the way and allows people to go ahead and follow. And they do. But when he was taken out of the highway, all the people went on after Joab to pursue Sheba, the son of Bichri. Sheba passed through all the tribes of Israel, which means he's headed north. He's headed up through Israel, to Abel of Beth-maachah, and all the Bichrites assembled and followed him in. And all the men who were with Joab came and besieged him in Abel of Beth-maachah. And they cast up a mound against the city and stood against the rampart. And they were battering the wall to throw it down. And so we have this military strategy. Right? They're in a walled city, fortified city, is north of Dan. They're at the one of the far extremes of the nation now. And Joab and his men are building a siege ramp. Every soldier's grabbing rocks and they're piling them up. They're going to make them a ramp up the wall. That's what they're working on. Right? They aim to get in there to Sheba. And then a wise woman called from the city, Listen, tell Joab, come here that I may speak to you. And he came near her, and the woman said, Are you Joab? He answered, I am. And she said to him, Listen to the words of your servant. He answered, I'm listening. She said to him, They used to say in former times, Let them but ask counsel at Abel. So they settled the matter. And I am one of those who are peaceable and faithful in Israel. You seek to destroy a city that is a mother in Israel. Why will you swallow up the heritage of the Lord. This is a peacemaking city. This is a city that's known for having wise people, peacemakers. Why would you come and seek to destroy a place that is so well known and well liked in Israel? Joab answered, "Far be it from me, far be it that I should swallow up or destroy. That is not true. But a man of the hill country of Ephraim called Sheba, the son of Bichri, has lifted up his hand against King David. Give up him alone, and I will withdraw from the city." The woman said to Joab, "Behold, his head shall be thrown to you over the wall." This woman effectively saves the city, right? Want to trade one man's life for the lives of countless. Whoever may be there and be in the way of Joab when he gets through that wall, right? She's pretty shrewd, right? She wants to save her town. She probably doesn't even know who Joab is. Not Joab. Probably doesn't even know who Sheba is. They're strangers in town, I'm sure. They're not. We're not going to allow the army of Israel to destroy our city for this guy who's raising his hand against the king. The woman went to all the people in her wisdom, and they cut off the head of Sheba, the son of Bichri, and threw it out to Joab. And so he blew the trumpet, and they dispersed from the city, every man to his home, and Joab returned to Jerusalem to the king. Easy peasy, right? A little bit of diplomacy, and the woman saves the city. The rebel, Sheba, loses his life. Now, it's a bit extreme for speaking up, right? Obviously that wasn't a democracy as such as we have today. Peaceful protests are tolerated. But Sheba spoke out. It was a rebellious word, and to quell any sort of upheaval or any sort of friction for David returning to the throne, Joab has pursued him to take his life, and that's exactly what has happened. All right, the location. Abel Beth Dan is somewhere right in here. So we're even a little further north than Dan. Seems like it's 3 to 5 miles, somewhere like that. It's not too terribly far, north of Dan. And they left from Jerusalem. So however much time elapsed, and perhaps it was those 3 days that David allowed Amasa before Abishai and his army took off after him. So he may have had a 3-day head start, but they covered quite a bit of territory before he decided to stop there. Very much further north, he could have made it on to Damascus. He could have left Israel altogether. But it seems as if he chose to stop at one of the last outposts before leaving the nation, before leaving his country. So it's pretty good trip there. Verse 23 down through 26 here is basically a court list for King David. Just kind of tells you who's who in David's court. Joab was in command of all the army of Israel, and Benaiah, the son of Jehoiada, was in command of the Kerethites and the Pelethites. And I kind of have a question there. I'm wondering what happened to Abishai, Joab's brother, and why he's not the leader at this point. Don't really have any information on that as to why Abishai was not favored for the job. Could be Joab wanted him with him. I don't know, but he's not the guy in charge of that group of elite fighting men. Adorm was in charge of the forced labor. Jehoshaphat, the son of Ahilud, was the recorder. Sheva was secretary, and Zadok and Abiathar were priests, and Ira the Jairite was also David's priest. All right, that is 2 Samuel chapter 20. Main point, Sheba's revolt, and it wasn't all that much of a revolt. There were no sticks, no stones, and really no cursing involved. Just probably a poor time to display terrible traditions, all right? Walk away from the coronation of the king. Joab kills Amasa, and then you have the wise woman who saved the city. And that is chapter 20. You have any thoughts or questions about the chapter? again, this is just sort of the tying up of loose ends for David's transition back to the throne in Jerusalem.
You think Sheba was trying to generate a following to make the move to be king?
If he was, he sure went a long ways north to try to do it.
Well, the troops got on his heels. He didn't have no choice.
Right. So I don't know. You know, a lot of times in the heat of the moment, you know, our mouth tends to overload us, right? And maybe Sheba was just so angry at the tribe of Judah that he just started talking without really thinking that one through very well. I don't know. I don't know exactly what was going on here with Sheba, but I don't know if his intentions were to do anything but survive. That being the case, he should not have stopped until he was out of the nation. He could have went out, kind of do like David, go out of the country for a couple of 2-3 years and then come on back. You know, maybe people will forget, right? All right, we'll pick up in chapter 21 next week.